We're going to start right here, COVID-19 and the concerns about it tonight. So the FDA approved the latest COVID booster. That happened just this afternoon, maybe while you were busy, just as new cases, though, continue to climb. But there are some steps that need to be completed before Moderna and Pfizer can make this new version available. The CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices will discuss the new formulas tomorrow. If that group and the CDC director then sign off, that is ultimately when pharmacies and doctors' offices could have those new shots, but that could unfold within a matter of a few days. The manufacturers say the new boosters are effective for the current dominant U.S. strain that we're seeing, as well as some emerging ones. And it's not surprising that many of you are searching for COVID-related questions online, looking for answers. Our Brooke Rogers sat down with an expert today to answer your top 3 trending COVID questions in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
The number one question you wanted to know about COVID over the past week: when will the new COVID vaccine be available? We asked Parkland Health's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Joseph Chang.
And what we're hearing here is really within the next few weeks, it should be rolling out all the way across the United States. We're not sure exactly where we fall in the pecking order, but we expect certainly that we'll get something within the next 2 to 3 weeks here.
And do we know, is it going to be people 65 and over first, or kind of what's the rollout going to look like?
I think, fortunately, I think we're going to get enough stock right up front that really anyone who wants it can come get it. So that's good, right? Because everyone will recall the first days of the vaccine that it was heavily tiered. And so there were a lot of people sort of chomping at the bit trying to get a vaccine who would sort of have to wait in line. But fortunately, this time, I think we will have enough to meet demand, certainly here in North Texas.
Number 2, what are the current COVID symptoms?
Well, they're actually very similar to COVID symptoms 2020, right? Except onset times are a little bit, shorter now than they used to be. Severity is a little bit different. But really, your main symptoms are still the same. Mainly talking about upper respiratory symptoms, right? So we're talking about cough, we're talking about sore throat, difficulty breathing, same things as we were looking at before. Not to say, of course, we can't have nausea, vomiting, and sort of gastrointestinal symptoms as well. But really, we're still looking for those breathing sort of symptoms.
And the third top trending COVID question: how is the new strain of COVID different?
All of these strains now, really in the last 6 months or so, are all cousins. I call them cousins. Call them whatever family member you will, but they're all sort of cousins of Omicron, right? So they're all part of the Omicron family, which means that they've mutated slightly from the Omicron variant. So they're all very similar to Omicron. Now, the good thing for us is that it's less severe than even Omicron was. The bad part is it's actually a little more infectious than Omicron was, right? So again, that's why we're seeing numbers going up quickly, but severe cases not going up nearly as quickly as just overall cases.
All great information as usual from our Brooke Rogers. And Brooke, if we could bug you for a couple of questions. Testing and accuracy. I'm curious what Dr. Chang thinks when it comes to how accurate these tests are nowadays.
So he says he absolutely trusts them. He says over the past couple of years, these tests have proven to be really incredibly accurate. He said you can, of course, still go to an urgent care and get a PCR test, but he said there's really no reason to. It's very rare for there to be a false result from these. So he says you absolutely can and should trust them.
And share with us the clarity that you got from Dr. Chang regarding expiration dates, because we reported on Friday night that expiration dates are being extended. What does that mean? Some people are kind of confused by that.
Yes, and it's actually very interesting, and I can see why it would be a little bit confusing too. So a lot of us have had these COVID tests sitting in our cabinets for a couple of years now. If you look closely when you take it out of the package, there is an expiration date on it. In this case, this one expired August 26, 2022. But the FDA actually, as you said, recently extended a lot of those expiration dates, and you can check that simply by going onto the FDA's website. It lists all of the manufacturing test names that they have approved. You can then type in the lot number that's listed on your test, and you can check the expiration date. Many of them have been extended 12 to 20 months since the original one, with everything that they have learned since then.
All right, all good information that we can use, especially with COVID going around again. Brooke, thank you so much. Latest information for you always being updated at cbstexas.com. There you can also find all of our coverage on COVID cases and testing, as well as booster shots.